is a Thursday. We're skipping the intro again because, Josh, if I would have told you last week on Championship Rings that the Eastern Conference Finals looks like it could be Pacers Knicks? What? So let's get into our team first. Let's start. So I know what you're gonna say. Oh, you told me about the Pacers. You told me they were gonna be a better challenge. Yada yada yada.
I want to bang my head against a wall. How?
Okay. What?
I want to bang my head against a wall. You are the number one seed. 3 separate winning streaks of double digits. You win 64 games. You have the coach of the year in Kenny Atkinson. And I get it. 3 of your 14 losses were at home, were against the same Indiana Pacers team. But you are at home.
Didn't count at the end of the regular season. Don't use that. We didn't play our guys at the end of the regular season.
Doesn't matter. We lost 3 out of 4 against them.
We didn't play any of our guys except on the broadcast.
They literally
say they don't give a crap on the broadcast. Josh, what the fuck do you mean?
I don't give a shit. We lost 3 out of 4 against them, whether you like it or not.
Playing fucking what's his face? Tyson.
Who should be getting minutes over a Coro in this series. What the hell?
But nonetheless, go on. Make your point. Make your point.
So, I get it. We lost 3 out of 4 against them. But how? You are at home. How do you lose against them? How? You're up 7 with 1:56 left and you blow it? Now, the NBA came out with its stupid 2-minute report and said, oh, the Tyrese Halliburton 3-pointer shouldn't have counted. Guess what? Doesn't matter now. It doesn't. And I'm sorry, but I know the Cavaliers have come back from down 3-1 to defeat the Golden State Warriors in the NBA Finals, but that's mostly because the NBA gave us a stimulus package by suspending Draymond Green in Game 5.
What are you talking about? They gave us a stimulus package. He had 7 technicals. He was automatically suspended.
The NBA
what are you talking about? They gave us a stimulus package. Draymond did it to himself. They didn't gift us that. Stop it.
Anyway, I don't know if we can go into Indiana and win these 2 games. I don't know. I hate to say it, but I'm worried this series is already over.
Okay.
I'm genuinely
I'm not even going to start with game 2. I'm going to start with game 1 because I'm going to tell you what really happened when it comes to this series. I'm going to tell you why the Indiana Pacers are in this situation. Because if you look really hard at the last 2 years of the Indiana Pacers being in the postseason, last year they went through a Milwaukee Bucks team and they did not have to play Giannis Antetokounmpo at all. And Damian Lillard took Milwaukee to 6 games in that series, and Indiana did what they did. Then, in the second round series against the Knicks, they are down 3-2 going into Game 6. They win in Indiana. It gets to a Game 7, and the Knicks, well, Jalen Brunson breaks his hand in the second half. They don't have Julius Randle. They don't have any of the Villanova guys. And Indiana basically cakewalks through that game to get to the Eastern Conference Finals, where they subsequently get swept by the Boston Celtics. This year, then in the first round, they beat a Milwaukee team without Damian Lillard. They go into this game 1 against the Cavs, where Indiana was so different stylistically than the Miami Heat. It just took the Cavs for a little bit of a show shock, and Nembhard and Nesmith could not miss a damn shot. And when Andrew Nembhard and Nesmith are playing the best game of their lives, and they don't miss a free, and they outscore the Cavs from 33 points from the 3-point line because the Cavs could not buy a bucket. That's why the Cavs lost game 1. Yet despite all their struggles, they were in the lead in the fourth quarter. Now, we get to Tuesday night. Obviously, no Evan Mobley, and I saw it when it happened live in game 1, and I don't care what the NBA says. I did not think that was a foul on Miles Turner. He stepped on his foot. It's an accident. It's whatever. but you're already without Garland. You don't have Mobley. DeAndre Hunter's got a dislocated thumb. That is arguably two of your three best players and arguably maybe your fourth or fifth best player on the team that you don't have. So Donovan Mitchell comes out. He puts up 48 points. Max Strus gives you 20 points. He's playing excellent. But obviously we can talk about the ending sequence and what happened and the Max Strus turnover and all that. One of the reasons why the Cavs lost this game, and yes, they lost it because they didn't box out and they allowed a free-pointer and Tyrese Haliburton beat them with a buzzer, but they needed more contributions from guys like Jared Allen, from guys like Ty Jerome, who went 1 of 13 from the field. When you don't have Garland, you don't have Mobley, and you don't have Hunter, and you're at home and you play like that in the first quarter, you have to get that home. To me, it's not like the Pacers have significantly outplayed the Cavs in this series. They've been better in clutch moments down the stretch, and that was an uncharacteristically unbelievable made shot by Haliburton, who was not good in the game up to that point. And while Indiana stole 2 games here, in my opinion, and they went up 2-0, Indiana's got to close this deal. Now, they can. It really depends on, in my opinion, what you're going to get out of Mobley, Garland, Hunter, if any of them do play. It sounds like they're all going to be game time decisions tomorrow. But to sit here and say that this series is absolutely over, I don't think it's true.
So, remember last week you put the idea out there to me that maybe we should trade Darius Garland?
I did, and a lot of people after Tuesday night were texting me about it, saying how much of an idiot I am. And let me just say this. We did not lose game 2 because Darius Garland was not on the court. And by the way, for those of you that are crying that, oh my God, that foul on Donovan Mitchell should not have been a foul and Tyrese Haliburton should have been not shooting free throws in the first place, it's loser mentality. The Cavs lost that game because they did not box out and they allowed Tyrese Haliburton to shoot a 3, which you do not allow in that situation. Worst case scenario, you intentionally foul him, you force him to make both free throws, and you go to overtime. You cannot allow a 3-point shot in that situation. But to your point about my take last week, no, I don't believe if we had Darius Garland that we would have got that game home Tuesday night because the collapse happened because nobody else was making shots. It had nothing to do with who wasn't on the court. I actually think losing Mobley's size going up against Turner and Siakam is a better detriment to this team than Garland right now.
So, by
the way, if Ty Jerome just makes one of his shots, we're having a different conversation.
After these 2 games against the Pacers, I'm sorry, but I definitively disagree with you about trading Darius Garland now. The Pacers' backcourt of Haliburton and Nembhard has completely outplayed the Cavs.
Well, they completely outplayed Mitchell and Ty Jerome. Ty Jerome has not shown up in this series, which is the biggest surprise because he was the 6th man of the year. Donovan Mitchell almost single-handedly beat the Pacers by himself Tuesday night. And again, it's not like the Pacers have dominated the Cavs. The Cavs came back after game 1 where they played like shit and they had the lead with 4 minutes left.
If we had Darius Garland, I'm not saying Darius Garland is the ultimate difference maker. Don't get me wrong. But Donovan Mitchell needs somebody.
He needs another shot creator, which is what Ty Jerome is. The problem is Jerome's not making his buckets. I actually think the bigger loss here, like I said, I think Hunter, that production you're missing from him is huge. And Mobley's size, when you don't have him, and it's just soft-ass Jared Allen who's rolling around like he's playing Pokemon again in the backyard. When you have those 2 guys pretty much missing against Turner and Siakam, you're going to be dominated on the boards. And the Cavs have also uncharacteristically in these 2 games in the fourth quarter, like they did in the fourth quarter of game 2 against Miami, have gone completely cold and have missed every shot.
We were up 20 in game 2. If you're truly a championship contender, you put away a team like Indiana. You don't allow them to continue to hang around.
Well, again, in fairness, we're not at full strength. That's the difference between us and what the Knicks are doing to Boston. We are not at full strength.
That part is true, yes. But the Pacers are showing that last year was not a fluke for them.
Well, are they again? How good are they really? They haven't played a full team in 2 years.
I believe they're showing.
Do you really believe right now in all these teams, the Indiana Pacers have any legit shot at winning the NBA championship?
Of all the teams in both the East and the West?
Yeah, that's what I'm asking. Do you honestly believe the Pacers can win the championship? A simple yes or a simple no will suffice, Mr. Ungar. The fact that you have to think about it tells me they're not a legit team.
If they beat the Cavs, then yes.
Well, again, are they going to beat the Cavs with no Evan Mobley, no Darius Garland, and no DeAndre Hunter? Because that's a different story than beat the Cavs at full strength.
That part I agree with you. Here's my thing. If the Cavs lose this series, this season is a complete and total failure. I don't care that they had 3 separate winning streaks of 10-plus games. I don't care that they won 64 games.
Well, again, it depends on who we get. If we don't have any of our guys, then it's just injuries. I mean, it's what happened to the Knicks last year.
I'm calling this season a failure if we lose this series. Sorry, but I am.
Listen, I understand that mentality, and I respect that, because all these guys that are out here, well, you know, if they made this call and they made this call, that's loser mentality.
I'm not blaming the refs at all.
That's what I'm saying. I admire you for saying, well, and no matter what I'm saying is I will give them a little bit of a pass, because Donovan Mitchell right now is playing essentially, in my mind, 1-on-5 or at the least 2-on-5.
And again, I'm sorry, but Okoro is giving you nothing.
No, I actually disagree with that. He played okay in game 2. He gave you some
3 points.
But it's the Draymond Green effect, Josh. Draymond Green gives you 4 points a game. He's the second most important player on the Warriors.
Oh, don't be comparing Okoro to Draymond Green.
Well, aren't they the same? They can't shoot. And listen, I don't love Isaac Okoro. You know that. What I am saying, though, is
trade him. Please trade him this offseason.
What I am saying, though, is that in game 2, he gave you a couple offensive rebounds. He gave you a couple steals. He gave you those energy plays to extend that lead out to the 20 that you were talking about earlier.
If it were me, I'd take some of Okoro's minutes, and I'm giving them to the rookie Jalen Tyson. I don't care that he's a rookie. I'm throwing him into the fire.
They may have to if they don't have Hunter, Mobley. I would suspect Garland is going to play tomorrow night at the Fieldhouse in Indiana. I would highly
or this series is done.
Well, I disagree, because I think they need one of the guys. I don't know if they need all 3. Hunter may play. Do. Hunter, to win this game, I don't know. Because here's the thing. Indiana has to show that they can put the Cavs away.
That part I agree with, but they found a way in both game 1 and game 2.
Yeah, but guess what? The Cavs have played like shit, and they've had the opportunity to beat them twice, and they couldn't do it. Indiana significantly outplayed the Cavs, and they've survived by the skin of their teeth.
Welcome to the playoffs.
How about this? In the second round, road teams straight up, they've all been underdogs, are 5-1. Straight up.
Yeah. And right now, I'm nervous that we're not going to get that Titanic Eastern Conference Finals matchup that we all so desperately want. Because I know you want it. I know I want it. We need to see Cavaliers Celtics in the Eastern Conference Finals.
Let's talk about your guy, Jason Tatum, who once again came up small, as he always does last night, getting his shit blocked by Mikal Bridges at the buzzer because the Boston Celtics are so analytical. Oh, we're going to shoot all these threes. Well, you know what, Boston? It doesn't work when you go 25 of 100 in this series from the three-point line. They have missed 75 threes in this series. And the Knicks, who if you would have told me in these first two games the Knicks would have outshot Boston from three, I would have told you you're on crack. And yet Jalen Brunson, OG Anunoby, and Mikal Bridges, who really didn't do anything in game one besides make the 1-3 in overtime and get the steal at the end of the game, have completely, and Karl-Anthony Towns hasn't really done much in this series either. And it's mostly been Jalen Brunson scoring in the fourth quarter and Boston's absolute refusal to go to the basket. And it's Jason Tatum, Al Horford, Derek White, Jaylen Brown, brick after brick after brick after brick after brick.
Yep. I hate that people are trying to drive this narrative again of Jaylen Brown or Jason Tatum. Boston's not the same without either if they don't have both of them.
Well,
so
because Jason Tatum's obviously the better player, and he has failed miserably in these first two games. Jason Tatum is, by you, a top 5 player in the NBA. If you're a top 5 player, Josh, you got to get that home. You can't go, well, what did he go? 13 points, 14 points last night when his team needed him? I mean, Donovan Mitchell scored 48. Who would you? Seriously, let me ask you: between Donovan Mitchell and Jason Tatum, who do you honestly believe is a better player? Because most people would tell you it's Jason Tatum.
Yep, most people would tell you it is Jason Tatum. What has he been to? Let's see, 2018. Yeah, 2017.
Well, he's been to like 6 straight Eastern Conference Finals.
Yep.
2 NBA Finals, didn't even win MVP. By the way, did not play well in either finals, didn't even win the MVP because Jaylen Brown was more clutch last year. This is an indictment on math. It's an indictment on analytics. Last year, the Celtics, and you said it at the time, Josh, you said, well, they didn't have Jimmy Butler. The Cavs didn't have Donovan Mitchell. Indiana didn't have Tyrese Haliburton. And I just said, well, listen, Boston never got to a game 5 in the NBA playoffs. But now, all of a sudden, if they lose this series, last year looks like a fluke.
Honestly, let me ask you this. Is this series a legacy-defining series for both Tatum and Brown?
Well, it depends on how you feel. If you think Jason Tatum's a top 5 player, then yes, it is. Many people would say Jaylen Brown's a top 10, maybe 15-ish player. I think Jaylen Brown's more towards the 8 or 9. But I will say this. I'm putting more of the blame on Tatum for this series because Jaylen Brown is not 100%. He has not been 100% for the end of the regular season. He's fighting a knee injury, though unlike the Cavs guys, he's actually toughening up and playing through his injury. He has clearly not been the same. But Jason Tatum has been the driver for this Celtics team. He's the one doing most of the ball handling. He's the one bringing the ball up. And yet, again, the Celtics are – and the other thing that's so strange about these comebacks is, again, most of them are obviously happening in the fourth quarter. But they are, one pass and out, one shot and out. They are not even draining the clock of time, which what has allowed the Knicks to make these comebacks. Because I'm sorry – the Knicks are not better than the Boston Celtics. This is why I keep saying, if you want to put any stock into the regular season, the Celtics completely destroyed the Knicks in the 4 games they played. And this series has come down to the fact Boston has not been able to buy 1 bucket in the fourth quarter.
What I'm wondering, though, is New York continues to do this where they don't utilize their bench and they play Jalen Brunson, Mikal Bridges, Cat, OG Anunoby, Josh Hart, 30-plus minutes. Some of them even 40-plus minutes.
Bridges in game 1 played 50-plus.
That's what I'm saying. Is that going to eventually catch up with them in this series? The lack that they don't have a bench. Like,
It depends on what happens tomorrow night in Game 3, because again, the Knicks have oddly not played well. They have oddly not shot the ball well. I mean, it was just a couple weeks ago they were struggling to get by the Detroit Pistons. And the crazy thing about this series is, Josh, the Knicks are 5-0 on the road in this postseason. They have won those 5 games by a grand total of 10 points. So you tell me, if Malik Beasley doesn't drop that ball in Game 6 against the Pistons, does he rip a free and the Pistons get that thing to Game 7 and maybe they knock off the Knicks? I don't know. This to me feels a little fluky-ish, but I can't deny that if they somehow come out and they bring the energy and they play better than Boston Saturday afternoon, it's over.
So both the Celtics and the Cavaliers are down 0-2 as the series now shifts to New York and Indiana. So who is Game 3 more important to, Cleveland or New York? Or I'm sorry, I messed that up.
Cleveland or Boston?
Cleveland or Boston, yes.
It's more important to the Pacers and the Knicks.
Instead of Cleveland or Boston?
If they go up 3-0, the series is over. If both those teams is 2-1, it's a different series.
Okay. So who is it more important to get that?
It's the same. I think a little more important for New York, or excuse me, it's a little, well, it depends on what the Cavs injury situation is. Because if the Cavs don't have any of those 3 guys, they're probably done. Though if the Cavs do pull it out tomorrow without Mobley, Garland, or DeAndre Hunter, the Cavs will win this series. I will say that.
Okay. As of right now, if I had this series going to a Game 7 before it started, I'm hoping I'm right about that, I think. But I don't know. And I did not have New York winning both games in Boston. I still think Boston's going to win this series. It's going to be in 6, though. I don't see it going to a Game 7.
Let's talk about Steph and the Golden State Warriors. So, Minnesota could not miss a shot in that Lakers series. And yet they come out in the first half against Golden State on Tuesday night. Julius Randle cannot buy a bucket. Dante DiVincenzo cannot buy a bucket. Anthony Edwards has 1 point in the first half of Game 1. And the Golden State Warriors run away with it even without Steph Curry. I know they have Jimmy Butler, but that Heat team in 2023 that he literally dragged with him to the NBA Finals was a different team with the likes of Caleb Martin and Duncan Robinson and Max Strus and Gabe Vincent, a lot of 3-point shooting around him. Golden State doesn't really have that outside of Buddy Hield. Pods is not a great 3-point shooter. We know Draymond. Obviously, Looney isn't really that great of a shooter. So if I'm Minnesota tonight, listen, I think outside of Jimmy Butler, they don't have an answer for Anthony Edwards. I thought going into this series that Minnesota's advantage would be the same advantage they had in the Lakers series, which was the height of Rudy Gobert, Julius Randle against the small bigs of Golden State. I think Minnesota needs to come out. They need to dominate tonight, because if Golden State can get this thing even 1-1 back to Golden State and they can win a game in the Chase Center, there is a chance Steph Curry comes back.
You mean Minnesota? Because you said Golden State evens the series up 1-1.
Yeah, what I'm saying, if they go back to the Chase Center 1-1, then it's like, okay, if it's 1-1 and it's tight. Like, I think it needs to be 1-1 and Minnesota needs to dominate tonight. I think that Minnesota needs to win these next 3. I should just say that outright. They need to go back to the Target Center for Game 5, up 3-1. Because if Golden State has a chance, if it's 2-2 to bring Steph Curry back, I think Minnesota's edge in this series is their bigs, the same way it was against the Lakers.
Yeah, I would agree. Although Houston had the advantage with their bigs, and they still ended up.
Well, but Houston's guys were young. Draymond Green was able to body up Sengun.
Jalen Green was an absolute no-show in this series. Holy shit.
Well, he wasn't a complete no-show. He had a good game 2 and a good game 5. The 2 games they blew Golden State out.
He had a good game 2 because a certain Jimmy Butler wasn't there.
Okay.
There you go.
Fair point. But I admire what Golden State has done because they shouldn't even be in this situation where they're up 1-0. I mean, it's incredible the way they keep reinventing the wheel here. But I think Minnesota is the better team in this series.
You would think so, yeah. It's crazy that either a number 6 seed or a number 7 seed is going to get to the Western Conference final.
But if you think about it, and this is what I think me and you totally missed when we made our playoff predictions, the difference between the number 2 seed Houston Rockets and the number 7 seed Golden State Warriors was what, 2 games?
Yeah. Whereas in the East, it was a lot more spread out.
So it's not really, 7 versus 6. You could make an argument that they could have finished 2 and 3. I was a little bit shocked the way Minnesota took care of the Lakers that quickly in 5, but I was also equally as shocked with how flat they came out in game 1, which is why I think tonight it may not be as bad as what Oklahoma City did to Denver last night, but I think it will be a beatdown tonight.
You would think so, but I'm not going to just dismiss Golden State like that. I can't do it.
I'll say Minnesota in 6. I think they now definitively, and again, I like Jimmy Butler, but I think he's gotten older. I don't know if he can carry a team as the number 1 anymore. I think Minnesota now definitively, without a doubt, by a wide margin, has the best player in the series. And I'll add, if Julius Randle continues to play out of his mind, he could elevate himself into being the second best player in the series the way he was in that Lakers series.
He very well could, yes. He's got to go right at Draymond.
Well, you would think he didn't do anything in game 1. Like, I think Minnesota's strategy tonight will be we're going to trap Jimmy Butler and we're going to let Buddy Hield and whoever else shoot as many shots as they want.
Yeah, because you don't have to deal with Steph running all over the place.
Yeah. So, how about Aaron Gordon at the buzzer in game 1? I couldn't. It was like the Cavs Pacers game, right? I mean, or the Knicks Celtics even. You're watching it. You're like, hey, Denver's hanging around. And Oklahoma City's going to probably pull away. And then all of a sudden, with 10 seconds left, Denver subs Nikola Jokic out of the game because he has 5 fouls. They don't want him to foul. And Oklahoma City makes 2 free throws to cut it to 3, but then they foul Aaron Gordon right away. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah, and he hits the game-winning 3-pointer eventually.
Well, that's after Chet Holmgren missed 2 free throws, and neither team had a timeout. So all of a sudden, here comes who I have always said is the worst player to watch in the history of the NBA, Mr. Russell Westbrook. Did he? And I am losing my mind at midnight, going, no, get the ball up. Don't shoot. Because I thought Russ was going to do something stupid where he runs in the lane, does a turnover, cost Denver the game. He kicks it out to Aaron Gordon, who's not a great 3-point shooter by any means. And he strokes that thing right in the basket. And you want to talk about stealing a game. I can make an argument out of all the road teams that we've seen so far, even Indiana, the way they did it against Cleveland in game 2, the way Denver did that was stealing a game.
It was just like what Aaron Gordon did in that Clippers game.
Yeah. And Denver, I got to tell you something, man. We got to have a discussion about what coaching really means in the NBA. Because the Nuggets head coach's name is Nikola Jokic. It's not Rick Adelman. His name is Nikola Jokic. He's barking out signals. He's telling people what to do. And he seems like he's enjoying it.
It really does. But then in game 2, Oklahoma City said, go away.
Yeah, the weirdest thing about that game last night, did you realize Jokic fouled out in the 3rd quarter?
I didn't get to watch a lot of it because I was actually at a fantastic musical last night, Shucked, at the Playhouse Square, excuse me. I highly recommend it, but that's neither here nor there. Maybe I'll write about it for Voltage Live. There you go.
I mean, that game was not even close. It was over 2 minutes in. Everybody said, thank you, God. We've been staying up till 1 o'clock in the morning watching these NBA games for a month, and we finally got a night where we got to go to bed a little bit early. I don't think this series is over, though, yet. I think Denver, I predicted OKC in 7 to start the series. I think Denver. And by the way, Nikola Jokic didn't even have a great game 7 against the Clippers, probably because it was the day of the Kentucky Derby and he was too distracted by watching the Kentucky Derby. But nonetheless, Denver is in this series now, and I think we're probably going to go back to OKC tied 2 apiece. And I think all Denver wants is get this thing to a game 7. Because even though it's going to be on the road, what do I always tell you all the time about game 7? What did we just see the Rockets do in game 7? Young teams fold in big playoff games.
Yeah, and we saw the Thunder do that against the Mavericks last year.
Well, no, that was game 6.
I know, but it's still the same.
No, it's not. Game 6 and game 7 is completely different.
Okay, let me phrase it like this. The concept you're talking about of young teams folding the later a series goes, that's the concept I'm referring to.
Yeah, but so Oklahoma City got a year under their belt, but they didn't experience a game 7 on their home court in their building. All the pressure would be on them.
Again, I agree with you. I'm not trying to say you're wrong. All I'm saying is the idea you're presenting of young teams folding the later a series goes, it makes me think of what happened to them in that Dallas series as it progressed and eventually ended in a game 6. That is all I am saying.
So here's something I will say. Right now, in the world of sports, outside of any on-the-court stuff in the NBA, all anybody wants to talk about is LeBron James and Michael Jordan. Who's the GOAT? Folks, I think in 10 years, we may have to put Nikola Jokic in that conversation. I mean, if you think about it, if Nikola Jokic gets one more championship, and it could be this year, I think you can make a case even with 2 championships, you can put Jokic in the GOAT conversation.
I think if Steph gets another championship, you could put him in that conversation.
Oh, without a doubt. All I'm saying is I think Jokic story is the most unbelievable story in the history of the NBA. The dude was drafted in a Taco Bell commercial. Nobody knows who he is. He's sort of a late bloomer for Denver. He comes out, he just casually dominates, win 2 straight MVPs. The year he doesn't win MVP, he actually wins Finals MVP. And he is averaging, 40 points, 20 rebounds, 10 assists. And some of these games, that's why they fired Michael Malone. They were losing games that Jokic put up historic numbers nobody has ever seen before.
Didn't they get swept by the Washington Wizards this season?
I don't know that to be a fact, but it wouldn't surprise me.
I think they did.
Listen, I for this series, I know Oklahoma City is skinny as bones, shit Ingram, and I know they have Hardenstein. They don't have.
By the way, I did look it up. Yes, Washington swept the Nuggets this season.
Wow. I don't think Oklahoma City has an answer for Jokic. What Oklahoma City has to do is make sure Jamal Murray, Russell Westbrook, Aaron Gordon, Michael Porter Jr., who never shows up seemingly unless it's like one game a series, they have to make sure that, like, if Jokic scores 40, he can't have 15 rebounds and 12 assists. He's got to have like 45, 5, and 6.
So I can't put Jokic in that GOAT conversation, not when you have the likes of Shaq.
I think Jokic is already better than Shaq.
Not when you...
Without 100%. Jokic's skill is twice as good as Shaq. He's already better than Tim Duncan, if you ask me. He's better than Shaq. He's better than Tim Duncan. Jokic currently
what about
to me...
Hakeem Olajuwon?
He's right there with Akeem, especially if he wins another championship. He has to win the same amount of championships as Akeem. But I think you can make a case he's the best big man of all time, right up there with Akeem, right up there with Bill Russell, certainly.
I don't know if he'll ever pass Bill Russell with what he did on the
Well,
court.
obviously, Bill Russell had 11 championships, but if you want to talk about skill level, oh my! Now, Will Chamberlain's obviously up there. He scored 100 points in a game. But
Supposedly.
Josh, no, not even Victor Wembanyama. I don't even know if he can do what Jokic can do with the assists and the passing. The dude is a walking 7'3" triple-double, and he can't jump off the ground.
It's honestly hilarious. But hey, you mentioned Victor Wembanyama. It is a new era in San Antonio.
Hallelujah!
Because after 29 seasons, Gregg Popovich is stepping down as from his position as the head coach of the San Antonio Spurs. However, he is not retiring because he is now going to become the president of basketball operations for the Spurs. And Mitch Johnson, who took over for Popovich after he suffered a stroke in, I think it was November, if I'm not mistaken.
It was very early in the season, yes.
He's going to become the Spurs head coach full time. And Popovich, what he did with the Spurs was unbelievable. He produced Hall of Famers like David Robinson, Tim Duncan, Tony Parker, Manu Ginobili, won 5 championships, 2014, 2007. Don't worry, I'll never forget that one because it was against our Cavaliers. 2005, 2003, and I think it was like 1999 or something.
Correct. It was the year after Jordan. It was right before the Lakers repeat from 2000 to 2000.
Yes. And he had major success on the international scene with Team USA as well.
Well, did he?
I think he won at least 2 gold medals, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, okay. Well, I'm here to make the argument that Gregg Popovich over the last 10 years ruined his legacy and got exposed. Because remember 10 years ago when Tim Duncan walks out that door, I'm coming with him. Gregg Popovich for the last 10 years has made the Spurs irrelevant with his old man basketball. I'm going to start load management. I'm not going to play anybody. And if you look really hard at Gregg Popovich's last 3 championships, in 2005, he faced the defending champion Detroit Pistons team, who does not have one Hall of Famer on that team. Then in 2007, he faced the Cleveland Cavaliers team with LeBron James, Larry Hughes, Drew Gooden, Daniel Gibson, George Ogauskas. That team LeBron carried to the finals. And in 2014, I give him that one. They did dominate that Heat team. But what has Gregg Popovich done the last 10 years of his career, much like Bill Belichick in New England, getting exposed with 15-win seasons and 18-win seasons and 15-win seasons and 18-win seasons? When is the last time the Spurs been relevant? Even with Victor Wembanyama, as great as Wemby's been the last couple of years, they have not been relevant. Now, maybe this year had to do with injuries, but he wasn't coaching for most of this year. And so for the Spurs, listen, Gregg Popovich, he's obviously a legend. He did great with his time with the Spurs. But all I'm saying is, if in that era he was good, once we got to this 3-point era and the new era of basketball, Gregg Popovich, the game passed him by.
So I looked it up. He won a gold medal as the U.S. men's national team head coach at the Tokyo Olympics.
What year was that?
The Tokyo Olympics, 2020. So because they didn't happen in 2020, it happened in 2021 because of the pandemic.
I admit I forgot he was the head coach of that team. For some reason, I thought it was Steve Kerr.
No.
So I'll give him credit for that. I will give him credit for that. But as I would say, I personally think you say, oh, he coached Hall of Famers like Tim Duncan, Manu Ginobili, Tony Parker. I'll give you Mano and Tony Parker he developed, but in my opinion, Tim Duncan made him. Just like Tom Brady made Bill Belichick.
Really?
Yes.
You gotta explain this one.
Explain which? That Tom Brady made Bill Belichick? Because I'll explain that one too.
No, you don't have to explain that one. I'm talking Duncan and Pop.
Well, let's see again. What has Gregg Popovich done without Tim Duncan on his team?
The game usually passes by all the great coaches. So what? It's super rare for head coaches and their scouting department to keep developing talent.
Well, granted, they didn't develop talent the last 10 years. They got Wemby because they were the worst team in basketball. They have not made a playoff appearance since God knows when. The Spurs have been an irrelevant franchise since they won that title in 2014. That was the end of the Spurs dynasty. If Gregg Popovich would have retired right then and there, he would have been deemed the GOAT. But because he didn't, in my opinion, he ruined his legacy, where I look at Steve Kerr now, and I'm like, oh, Steve Kerr has now continued the dynasty with Steph, with Draymond, with this new iteration of the Warriors. I look at what Phil Jackson did. Phil Jackson won 11 championships with the Bulls, with the Lakers, 2 different dynasties, with star players. Even with as great as Kawhi Leonard was in San Antonio, he didn't do anything with Kawhi once he became Kawhi Leonard. Kawhi Leonard quit on Gregg Popovich.
Yeah, and then Grandizer said, no, I believe Duncan was drafted.
No, what are you talking about? He was Gregg Popovich's first ever draft pick, I believe.
Yeah. Because they paired him alongside David Robinson.
Correct.
And then he says most coaches have a long dry spell. Again,
has Andy Reid ever had a dry long spell being the worst coach in the league? Has Steve Kerr ever had a long dry spell? Did Phil Jackson ever have a long dry spell? No. Maybe not championships, but relevance. I'm not even dying them for championships. I'm saying since they won the 2014 championship, they got to one Western Conference Finals, and you can say it was odds up a cheap shot all you want, but they couldn't get past that Golden State team, and they haven't been good since.
Yeah. That part is true. I give you that. But I'm just not going to – I can't knock what he's done overall with San Antonio. I can't.
By the way, as I said, that was mostly a league where there was no shooting. I have made the argument in today's NBA, if Tim Duncan started his career 5 years ago and never developed a shot, he wouldn't be a Hall of Famer.
And yet he is.
Well, again, it's all about era. Popovich was perfect for his era. He should have left 10 years ago.
Well, he did it, and I'm kind of glad he didn't because his interviews with Craig Sager, especially rest in peace, were hilarious.
Yeah, I don't find him funny. I think he's a cocky know-it-all. Personally, again, I think he's a very good coach. I'm not taking away anything from him, but that he's the greatest coach ever. He did all these great things with the Spurs. You can make an argument Steve Kerr has a better resume than him.
I never said he's the greatest coach of all time.
Well, that's what a lot of people are saying. Oh, my God, this guy, he's such a great coach. Yeah, Tim Duncan carried him to 4 championships, and David Robinson helped him win the 5th.
For Andy Reid, great coach, but he will always be known as cheese coach because this is where he won his Super Bowls, regardless of how long he was with the Eagles.
That part is true. I give you that, Grandizer. But again, Andy Reid never went 7-year stretches where he had the worst record in football. Bill Belichick has, by the way.
Yep. Grandizer says, first, quit yelling. Second, great coaches is not said to only the names you mentioned.
Well, no, we are talking about the greatest coaches in the history of sport because that's what people compare Gregg Popovich to. There's a lot of great coaches. Eric Spoelstra is a great coach. I think Kenny Aggies is a great coach. A lot of people think Rick Carlisle with Indiana, great coach. Depending on how you feel about Joe Mazzulla, some people really like Joe Mazzulla. Some people don't think Joe Mazzulla does jack shit.
Based on what he does with Detroit, you could make an argument maybe for
Bickerstaff. God. Wait. Okay. Don't say JV Bickerstaff. Please say Dan Campbell. Do not say JV Bickerstaff because he is not a great coach.
Fine. I'll go with Dan Campbell, although I was going to go with the other guy.
Speaking of football, so whitey ass George Pickens. He now gets to join over at the Mickey Mouse Clubhouse with Jerry Jones, CeeDee Lamb, Dak Prescott, Brian Schottenheimer, and the Dallas Cowboys for a third-round pick.
Micah Parsons.
Yeah, Micah Parsons. By the way, shares the same agent with George Pickens. It's going to be a very interesting discussion here. JP developed Kate Cunningham. I'm crying. Yeah, okay.
Kate Cunningham didn't turn into what he is now until Bickerstaff got there.
Well, listen, JB's good with young players, and then he just chokes at every postseason game he ever coaches. So, George Pickens is a Dallas Cowboy, and my reaction to this was, quite frankly, not surprised at all. It's a wash, in my opinion, because I think George Pickens is going to Dallas on a one-year deal. Whether they're going to pay him or not, we'll see. They probably will eventually pay him. But George Pickens is going to be a diva wide receiver who's going to want the ball. And Brian Schottenheimer, who has never been a head coach of this league, the last time he called plays for a team, Josh, do you know the answer to this? Because I'll tell you.
He was the Cowboys' offensive coordinator, I believe.
He was, but he did not call plays when he was the OC. I'm talking about the last time he called plays for a team.
Oh, God. Wasn't he with the Chargers at one point, too?
How about the 2010 New York Jets?
Oh, good Lord.
With Mark Sanchez, San Antonio Ohms, LaDainian Tomlinson, Jericho Country, and those guys that got to the AFC Championship. His pedigree is running the football. And right now, the Cowboys have Miles Sanders, my old friend from the Philadelphia Eagles, and Javonte Williams and the Denver Broncos, their running backs. So they're trying to rebuild their offensive line with Booker they drafted out of Alabama, Steen, the guy they drafted last year, the tackle they drafted as well a couple years ago. So this is going to be a running football team. And because of Dak Prescott's injuries, Dak, I don't care what you guys say, he's no longer a mobile quarterback. He's going to be a statue-esque quarterback. And so because of that, listen, they needed a number 2 wide receiver. He's an upgrade over what they have. And I think it's going to actually benefit CeeDee Lamb more than it benefits George Pickens. But I don't know. They're still not as good as the Commanders or my Eagles. And hell, if Jackson Dart could play, I'm damn serious about this. I don't know if they're better than the Giants.
I got to look at this from the Steelers' perspective. Like, if they're trying to appease Aaron Rodgers, which, God, who I don't give a shit about that whole thing anymore.
Well, we all know Aaron's coming.
Yeah, but what are we doing? Like, you trade George Pickens, I get it. Him and DK Metcalf are similar. They're both whiny wide receivers, and they have similar skill sets. But what? Who else is George or Aaron Rodgers going to throw the ball to besides DK Metcalf?
Well, they have DK, they have Freiermuth, and they have Jaylen Warren out of the backfield, and they have that running back they picked up out of UCF out of the draft, who's a good pass catcher. He's not great in pass protection. I don't know how much on the field he's going to get, but this is about, listen, we know Arthur Smith's history as an OC is running the football outside zone. You could have went with Pickens and Metcalf for this year and see how it goes. They get an extra third-round pick. Look, I think it's a wash for both sides. I don't think he's going to make a big impact in Dallas. I think he'll have a good year, not a great year. I don't think he's a difference maker for them. And I don't think he's going to be that much of affected by the fact that he's no longer in Pittsburgh because I think they're replacing him with a better version of him in DK Metcalf.
And there's reports that they want to trade for Alan Lazard. Gosh, I wonder
Which,
why.
by the way, is funny because reportedly 31 other teams are not interested in Allen Lazard.
Gosh, I wonder why. Oh.
Well, we all know that next Wednesday, now whether we're on the air Wednesday, Thursday, we don't know yet. Depends on the Cavs schedule, whether there's a game 5, game 6, whatever it may be. We'll update you guys on social media. But the NFL does release its schedule next week. Me and Josh are going to go over all the big games. Reportedly, Aaron Rodgers is waiting to see how many primetime games the Steelers get because he doesn't want to play all these primetime games like he did for the Jets last year.
By the way, in terms of the schedule release, I'm very excited about it. In my mock Cleveland Browns schedule, I have them opening the season on the road in Gillette Stadium in Foxborough, Massachusetts against the New England Patriots. And then in week 2, I've got them playing their home opener against the Minnesota Vikings. And then later in the season, I've got them playing the Green Bay Packers at home in week 8. And then in week 10, I believe it is, I've got them going to the Windy City to play the Chicago Bears.
Yeah, I know it's confirmed week 4 or week 5 that they're playing in London. I can't remember what week that is.
As of right now, the rumor is that game is going to be against the San Francisco 49ers, which if that turns out to be true, I am not happy about it because I was at the game in 2023 here in Cleveland.
That was the game that I told everybody Brock Purdy is not a real NFL quarterback. That Brock Purdy is a byproduct of being there with Super Avenger because Trent Williams did not play. That was a game where I think Ayuk was out, right? Because I know they had Debo or Ayuk. They didn't have both. I think it was Ayuk who was out. And Brock Purdy could not get them through in the rain.
I believe it was Debo.
Yeah, no, I'm not a hockey fan. Talk to Josh about it.
I will. Don't worry. On this show, I'll give you some Stanley Cup playoff coverage because the Stanley Cup playoffs have been fun so far. But yeah, I believe it was Debo who was injured, if I'm not mistaken. But half of the Browns stadium was red for the 49ers because they have a huge following in Youngstown, I believe, because their owners are from Youngstown, if I'm not mistaken. So I was really hoping that 49ers game would be here in Cleveland because I want to go again. As of right now, the home games I'm planning on going to for the Browns are against the 49ers, if it's here in Cleveland, Green Bay, Minnesota, and Buffalo. I don't care about seeing Pittsburgh or Cincinnati or Baltimore. Tennessee, I could care less. I've seen Miami.
Wait a minute. Tennessee, I think Tennessee's going to be a shockingly improved team. I do. I don't know how good they're going to be, but they're going to be fun. You're telling me you don't want to go see Cam Ward?
Against Shedeur Sanders? No thanks.
Wow. I mean, those were the 2 top quarterbacks in the draft, according to most people. According to you, by the way, because you had Shedeur going number 2.
I don't care what Fitz says. I don't care what anybody says. That draft pick had Jimmy Haslam's fingerprints written all over it.
We're getting off track. Let's get to some wrestling because this weekend we have Backlash 2025 taking place in St. Louis, Missouri.
I don't know. Because WWE, I'm sorry, I haven't watched a single second of WWE since WrestleMania. I canceled all recordings of Friday Night SmackDown on DVR. I canceled all recordings of NXT on DVR. I'm considering unfollowing WWE on Twitter or X, whatever. I'm considering unsubscribing from WWE on YouTube.
Okay, well, I guess we'll turn this conversation to this because I did not know this. I was not aware of this.
Because I'm sorry, when I look at Backlash, I'm not impressed.
Oh, come on. I think this is one of the best cards of the year.
John Cena versus Randy Orton. Whoop-de-frickin' do.
Are you fucking kidding me, Josh? What? These guys are gonna have a 30-minute fucking classic.
Guess what I get on AEW Dynamite?
Oh, what do you get guys doing once in a 2,000 feet arena? Woo!
I get John Moxley versus Samoa Joe.
Oh, yay!
For the World Championship.
Oh, for the World Championship, for a paper champion. The last real champion is John Cena. Mr. You Can't See Me against Randy Orton, his arch rival, who they have never had a bad match in their life. They're going to tear the house down in St. Louis, Missouri. Randy Orton's hometown in front of his family as John Cena tries to walk away in December as the last real champion.
I'll take John Moxley versus Samoa Joe in this steel cage for the World Championship.
Okay.
Thank you very
how
much.
about the Fatal 4-Way for the U.S. Championship? Fatu, LA Knight, Priest, McIntyre will be an absolute 20-minute firebanger.
That's like the only match on Backlash I'm truly interested in. Everything else, whatever.
Not Dom and Penta again. Not Pat. I can't wait for Pat McAfee and Gunther. I'll throw that out there. I think that will be an absolute could-be match of the night candidate.
I got Will Ospreay versus Hangman Adam Page on.
Oh, yeah. Two guys that'll sell 4 Canadian destroyers in one match. Or Penta can put you away with 1 Canadian destroyer because its miniature is actually protected. Oh, and by the way, this will be in front of a sold-out arena of 15,000 people, not on some random Dynamite, even though they had to move Collision for a movie 2 weeks ago. But yeah, AEW is doing so great. Yay!
Collision is actually happening tonight.
Yeah, because they were forced to move off it because of the NBA playoffs on Saturday.
Yep. And I generally don't watch Collision, but I'm planning to watch it tonight. I get Willow Nightingale versus Chris Statlander, which should be an excellent match. Ricochet versus Angelico. That'll be an okay match. I'm really enjoying this MJF Bobby Lashley storyline that they're developing. It's good. I'm very much in AEW's camp right now.
Yeah, you're like Dave Meltzer over here, giving every AEW match 4 stars.
I'm so excited for Double or Nothing. I can't wait. What they're doing with the Elite right now is fantastic. The Young Bucks are just up to their usual asshole selves. I'm sorry, but you're telling me at Backlash I get Lyra Valkyria versus Becky Lynch. I'll take Jamie Hayter versus Mercedes Moné. Thank you very much.
Well, teaches their own, I guess. I mean, I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah, I'm sorry. AEW is way better than WWE right now. Way better.
I'll tell you, I will admit the road to WrestleMania was slow. I admit right now SmackDown is not the greatest, but damn if I don't tell you, the last couple of Raws have been thoroughly great. I'm not here to deny that everything WWE has done is great, but I am thoroughly entertained by the product. And you give me the matches on this card, I actually think Backlash in terms of overall wrestling quality could be a better wrestling show than WrestleMania.
Yeah, I'm not watching it. No thanks.
Like we talked about it, Josh. Like you thought this was one of the worst WrestleManias ever because you didn't love the in-ring action. Well, for me, I am loving what they're doing right now with Seth Rollins and Breakker and this new Heyman thing. I love Jey Uso's World Championship reign so far. I think him and Logan Paul are gonna have a fantastic match.
The fact that that's his first feud is.
But why are you so mad that that's his first feud? I don't get the outrage. Oh my God! Again, why?
Because Logan Paul's horrible.
He's horrible. What horrible thing has he ever done?
Yeah.
You just said he's horrible. Well, tell me why.
Do you not know the history of the Paul brothers?
That's all you care about this issue. I'm talking about what he done in WWE, so you don't care about him because what he did outside of WWE. That's your reason.
His feud with AJ Styles leading up to WrestleMania was bad. I really didn't care about his feud with Roman Reigns for the title because they tried to present him as a babyface. Horrible.
That was a top 3 match of his career. Absolute stunner of a match.
The match was really good, yes. The feud, not so much. His only really good feud was with Seth Rollins leading up to WrestleMania 39.
I thoroughly enjoyed his feud with Kevin Owens and then subsequently Randy Orton leading into WrestleMania 40 and the Rumble with Kevin Owens. And the LA Knight stuff going into SummerSlam.
I enjoyed the WrestleMania 40 stuff more because of everything with Kevin Owens and Randy Orton. But I got to answer Grandizer because he was asking me about the Stanley Cup. So the Stanley Cup playoffs have been fantastic so far. Toronto is up 2-0 against the defending Stanley Cup champion Florida Panthers. We've got the Carolina Hurricanes who went up 1-0 against the Washington Capitals. I believe game 2 of that series is tonight. And then over in the West, Winnipeg and Dallas both went to a classic Game 7. Mikko Rantanen went off for a freaking hat trick against his old team to beat the Colorado Avalanche 4-2. The Winnipeg Jets won Game 7 against the St. Louis Blues in double overtime, and now they're set to play each other in the second round, which Dallas is already up 1-0 in that series. You got Vegas and Edmonton, the last 2 Western Conference champions, with Vegas winning the Stanley Cup in 2023. And I believe Edmonton is up 1-0 in that series. I'm loving the Stanley Cup playoffs so far. I can't believe Edmonton beat LA again. I don't know what LA has to do to get through Edmonton. And then in terms of the Monsters, they unfortunately are out. They lost to the Laval Rocket in 4 games in the North Division semifinals. And there you go.
Has there been any upsets in the first round? Because I know in hockey, even though they're seeding, it's kind of like baseball, where it's like it's any man's game.
So Florida took down Tampa Bay, which I guess you could say is an upset because Florida was the number 3 seed in their in the Atlantic Division, and Tampa Bay was number 2. Edmonton took down LA, like I said. Edmonton was number 3. LA was number 2. Everything else kind of was chalk. We had the Battle of Ontario where Toronto nearly blew it, but because Ottawa forced a Game 6, but Toronto ended up winning. Everything else kind of held to form for the most part.
Well, I'll tell you what, to end today's show, I'm going to say this on the air. First of all, go Cavs. Let's hope that we are not doing a show next Tuesday because the Cavs get swept. Let's hope there will be a Game 5 and that Josh will be working in Tuesday in Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse.
Rocket Arena
now. You're right. Thank you. But let me just say this. This was, without a doubt, one of our most heated shows. We both brought great sides, great arguments. There's a lot of screaming, especially from me back and forth. I want to let the viewers know, and I want to let you know, Josh, nothing's personal. I told you this before off the air. I'm going to say it on the air. I love you, brother. Every discussion we have back and forth, I love it. I would not change anything for the world. I respect your opinion too much not to love you, and I just want you to know that.
I appreciate it. Same goes for you. It feels weird that we've developed this show as much as we have. No, you're not the only viewer.
You're the only viewer on YouTube, but we got people chiming in on X as well.
That is true. But we appreciate everybody tuning in. I always upload clips from championship rings on my own YouTube channel. I know Brandon uploads clips from the show to the actual championship rings YouTube channel, which I greatly appreciate all the work that you do on your end. So
that's what we got, Speed. Also check out Brain's World every Tuesday, every Thursday, sometimes Friday. I love you, Josh. Go Cavs. Next week's going to be a big show. We're going to be talking NBA playoffs. We're going to be talking NFL schedule release. I propose let's do our top 5 games of the year. Like we usually do each week for week 1. Let's just do our top 5 games of the year. Let's make a list.
Okay.
And with that, go Cavs. Like I said, we'll see you guys next week on Championship Rings, whatever that may be.
We will see you then.